Welcome to today's episode, where we explore the best tales from Reddit. If you're ready for some spine-chilling, edge-of-your-seat moments, then you've come to the right place. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story. Story 1, The Mysterious Caller. I'll never forget the night I received a call that changed everything. It was a typical Thursday evening, and I was sitting in my apartment alone, scrolling through my phone. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated, but then picked up. The voice on the other end was distorted, almost like they were speaking through a broken speaker. But I could still make out the words. "I'm watching you." The line went dead. I thought it was a prank, but something about it unsettled me. The next night, the call came again, but this time, the voice was clearer. "I'm in your building." Panic set in. I locked all the doors and windows, but the calls kept coming every night. The last one was the worst. "I'm standing outside your door." I moved out the next day, but to this day, I still don't know who that was. Was it a sick prank, or something far more sinister? Story 2, The Silent Passenger. I work the night shift as a delivery driver, and I've seen a lot of strange things on the road. But there's one night I can never forget. It was around 3 a.m. when I got a delivery to a small, isolated house just outside of town. When I arrived, the porch light was flickering, and the door was slightly ajar. I knocked and waited for someone to answer, but nobody came. Just as I was about to leave, I heard a voice from behind me. "Come in," it whispered. I turned around, but no one was there. I don't know why, but I stepped inside. It was dark, the only light coming from a single lamp in the hallway. I called out, "Hello." No response. I went further in, but the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I turned to leave, but the front door was now closed, and I heard footsteps behind me. I quickly ran out of the house, and when I looked back, the lights had turned off. I haven't made a delivery to that house since. Story 3, The Ghost in My Apartment. Last year, I moved into an apartment that I thought was perfect. The rent was cheap, the location was great, and the landlord seemed nice. But after a few weeks, strange things started happening. At night, I would hear footsteps in the hallway, and sometimes the door to my bedroom would open by itself. At first, I thought it was just the building settling or maybe my roommates playing pranks. But then, I woke up one night to find the door wide open. And a shadow standing in the doorway. I froze, thinking it was just my imagination, but then the figure moved toward my bed. I could feel the presence, like someone was standing next to me, just watching. I couldn't move or speak. The next morning, I told my roommates about it, and they admitted that they'd seen strange things in the apartment too. After that night, I never felt alone in that apartment. I eventually moved out, but I swear I still hear footsteps sometimes. Story 4, The Unseen Hand. I was visiting my grandmother's house when I experienced something I can't explain. It was late, and we were all gathered in the living room. My grandmother had been talking about how she felt a presence in the house ever since my grandfather passed away. I didn't take her seriously. That night, as I was lying in bed, I felt something touch my arm. It was soft, like a hand gently resting there. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but then it tightened its grip. I jerked my arm away and looked around the room. There was no one there. I told my grandmother the next morning, and she simply nodded, saying, "I knew he would come back to visit." I never stayed the night in that house again. Story 5, The Door That Shouldn't Be Opened. I've always been the curious type, especially when it comes to abandoned places. One day, a group of friends and I decided to explore an old mansion on the outskirts of town. The place had been abandoned for years, and rumors about its dark past had circulated for as long as I could remember. As we explored, we came across a door that seemed out of place. It was locked, but my friend, Tim, managed to get it open with a crowbar. What we found inside still haunts me to this day. The room was small, with an old, dusty chair sitting in the middle. But what really freaked me out was the strange symbols carved into the walls. As we stepped inside, the air grew colder, and the door slammed shut behind us. We tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. Then, we heard a whisper. It was soft at first, but it quickly grew louder. It was as if something was telling us to leave. We finally managed to escape, but as we were running out, I looked back and saw a shadowy figure standing in the window. I've never gone near that mansion again. Story 6, The Man in the Woods. I was hiking in the woods with a group of friends when we got separated. I was a little behind the others, taking some photos, when I noticed a figure standing in the distance. I thought it was one of my friends, but as I got closer, I realized it wasn't anyone I knew. The man was dressed in old-fashioned clothes, almost like something out of a horror movie. His face was pale, and his eyes were wide open, staring straight at me. I called out, but he didn't respond. When I tried to approach, he started walking backward, disappearing into the trees. I told my friends, but they didn't believe me. I thought I was just imagining it, but later that night, when we were camping, I heard footsteps outside our tent. They were too loud to be an animal, and they circled around us for hours. The next morning, we found footprints in the mud, leading into the woods, but none coming out. To this day, I wonder who or what I saw in those woods. Story 7, The Shadow in My Mirror. I've always had a weird relationship with mirrors. Ever since I was a kid, I've had this feeling that something is always watching me through them. But it wasn't until a few years ago that I had a truly terrifying experience. I was staying at a friend's house, and we were getting ready for a night out. I went into the bathroom to do my makeup, and as I looked into the mirror, I saw a figure standing behind me. At first, I thought it was my friend, but when I turned around, there was no one there. I looked back at the mirror, and the figure was still there, now much closer, and it was smiling. It wasn't my reflection. It was something else entirely. I turned and ran out of the bathroom, but when I told my friend, she just laughed it off. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing scratching noises coming from the bathroom. The next morning, I checked the mirror and found deep scratches on the surface. I've never stayed at that house again, and I haven't looked into a mirror the same way since. And that's it for today's episode. What do you think? Are these stories true, or are they just unsettling tales meant to spook us? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And remember, if you loved these stories, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Stay tuned for more epic tales from Reddit. Thank you for watching. Be sure to come back for more eerie tales and spine-chilling experiences in our next episode. Until then, stay safe, and remember, sometimes, the scariest things are the ones we can't see.